The F122 game is 1 week away and only a couple of days if you have the Champions Edition, so I think now is a great time to talk about tips for My Team Career Mode. Now, this is a kind of different style of video, not really aimed at those of you that play the F1 game day in, day out, every single week, but maybe for more of those casual players that pick up the game occasionally, maybe don't know the ins and outs of the game mechanics. And of course, we know, unfortunately, My Team Career Mode hasn't changed that dramatically from F1 2021, and so my experience on last year's game can help you guys out with 7 tips today to help you progress further in F1 22 My Team Career Mode. And so we'll start off with tip number 1. Now, this is all going to be about the priorities of your upgrades early doors in the first season of My Team Career Mode, and really the first half of that first ever season you're going to do on the brand new game. I think you should be prioritizing these 3 areas over anything else. First and foremost, upgrade weight reduction on the chassis side of things. That has been the case for the last 2 games because the FOM generic My Team car that you get given, I've seen it in the coding, it is a very heavy car versus the AI cars. And then of course, even from real life, this year more than ever, the real life teams have been trying to reduce weight by stripping paint even to get those last few tiny kilograms or percentage of kilograms off their car. So weight reduction, even more so in this new era of Formula 1, is so important. Couple with that, you want to try and reduce the drag as much as possible, because that will actually allow you to compromise on the setup by running higher wings, but because you've got higher drag reduction, it actually won't affect your straight line speed that much if you boost the wings up to get more downforce and a bit more turn in the corners. And finally, ERS. I recommend you try and look into getting a couple upgrades going on the ERS. It may not seem that useful at first, but as you do more and more upgrades, you'll notice by, essentially when you get to a maxed out car, ERS management's not a thing. You can basically deploy ERS all the way, anytime you want, during the race, any lap you want. You don't really have to do any kind of strategy saving for later on the race. So the more upgrades you do early on, the nearer you'll get to that kind of vibe where you can activate ERS. And versus the AI, ERS using overtake mode in the race is so powerful because the AI are so pin perfect at deploying ERS in little baby steps over the course of the race. So if you can upgrade that as much as you can early doors, that you'll notice it out of corners accelerating using overtake mode. You won't be done so much on the straight, and obviously that actually couples in with the drag reduction and the weight reduction in terms of how fast your car's going to accelerate out the corners, which is a large area where the AI always get you, and also into the corners, the brake zones. With a lighter car, you can brake a little bit later, and then also mid-apex, you can move the car about a little bit easier with a lighter car, and then the ERS can help you on the exit. Tip number 2 is pay attention to your teammate and really train him up as much as you can, and you really need to be careful and wary of his focus. So in those career department events in between races where you think, oh, the decision that I make maybe won't matter, especially if it mentions it will boost or lower the driver's focus, your teammate's focus, you need to really look into that because you want to try and boost the focus as much as you can. On the F1 game, focus essentially means the raw potential your AI teammate can match their stat. If your teammate doesn't have good focus, he won't perform. Your teammate could be over 90 rated, but if he has focus lower than 50, he's not going to be that great. You need to try and boost the focus as much as he can to maximize his actual talent and his actual stats on the page. And a kind of further bit of advice to this is if you want help and you want to boost your teammate as much as possible quickly, I would look into the personnel HQ. Do not skimp out on those because that is a place where you can really aid your teammate being better. And ultimately, for My Team Career Mode, if you want to try and win those Constructors' Championships, you're going to need both cars scoring points or at least finishing near to each other to get consistent results. And consistency is such a big thing versus the AI over a season. Remember, in this year's game, personnel also includes pit stop improvements, so that's also another area you can improve. Number 3, the very start of your My Team Career Mode, you're going to face an interview with Will Buxton. Now, it may seem a bit throwaway. It may seem a little bit kind of, oh, it's just a bit of fluff at the intro. But if you read carefully at the answers, you'll notice that actually the answers will actually then influence how your team starts. On this year's game, we have new career mode settings, but on top of that, the interview with Will Buxton can also influence maybe a certain upgrade you have on the car or don't have. Let's say if you skew all your answers to the aerodynamics department, you'll actually end up probably starting with one more aerodynamics upgrade than you would have if you didn't skew your answers towards that side. It also boosts morale and can also affect the HQ level on some of the upgrades, individually in the actual HQ itself. So pay attention to Will Buxton's interview, more so the answers you're giving, because that will actually start to subtly affect how good or bad your team is going to be in the window of that newcomer, midfield, or championship contender bracket, obviously, as a general setting. Number 4, if you're new to the F1 games, you might want to try the practice programs and kind of live the life of an F1 driver during practice, but after a while, it could get a bit samey. So I recommend doing the quick practice mini games, and I've found actually they're way more consistent at getting you R&D across the season. There are going to be so many times where you maybe can't do the practice programs, but the computer can with the mini games. So if you want a more consistent level of R&D across the season, use the mini games, and also it saves you time in later seasons. Or just if you're a busy person, if you don't have time to do any of that, the mini games are a great way to still get the R&D and still have an enjoyable R&D experience upgrading your car along with the AI teams. Number 5, if you can help it, try and spread the HQ facility upgrades as much as you can. By that I mean, don't try and upgrade one facility to 2 levels higher than the others. Try and bring them up all at the same time. I feel like, in my opinion, durability you can kind of let go a little bit, because really, if you've got a fast car and it's unreliable, you can make that work. You can also do slow durability upgrades, but the rest of it I would try and bring up together so you don't get a bottleneck, because you can get to a point in the season where you've tried to go too far into, let's say, the engine department, and you reach a bottleneck where you can't afford any more in terms of an HQ upgrade, you can't afford any more on the R&D, and you're left there sat kind of twiddling your thumbs. You have to wait for the other departments to catch up a little bit, and then for you to raise the funds and the acclaim necessary to move on. So try and spread it across so there's also not an imbalance on your car. It may be tempting to get a great car in a straight line with a mega engine, or let's say a car that has great downforce, but over the course of this season you're going to be left frustrated at certain races where your car actually just nosedives in performance. And although in real life that's actually what teams sometimes tend to do to try and score more points in certain races, in the game, in my opinion, versus AI on this video game, I think you're better off spreading your costs and spreading your losses, because it's all about consistency over a season with AI, because they're going to have crashes, they're going to have DNFs, a lot more than real life sometimes, especially in later seasons. So consistency and spreading everything equal is going to be the best way to go, in my opinion. Number 6, after you've got maybe one set of HQ upgrades done, I would try and quickly get your marketing HQ upgraded. I think it's an area that maybe initially people, newcomers especially, may think, oh, that's not going to really affect things too much, I want to focus on the car. But the marketing, very much like in real life, in the real world, marketing is a powerful tool, and in the game you can massively improve your acclaim rate gain every single race, and also how much kind of boost you're going to get with the department events and general sponsorship as you go on through the game. And that ultimately is going to give you more, a level acclaim, it's going to give you more money then, and then it's going to get you more upgrades. So in the end of it, marketing will actually help improve your car, because the money will go to the HQ will go to the R&D, of course, and allow you to do more upgrades, and that will of course make your car quicker. So do not skimp out on marketing. I'll try and upgrade it as much as, honestly, the other HQ facilities from the get-go, from the first season. And finally, my 7th tip today. Now this one may be obvious, but honestly I've made this video for people who literally maybe never played the F1 game before and want some tips. If you're finding it difficult, if you've chosen a setting at the start difficult, go back and just change it. You've got the 3 new settings for my team career mode: championship challenger, midfield, or newcomer. So if you think, oh, I reckon being a newcomer might sound cool, might be a cool challenge, if you're finding it way too difficult, and trust me, it can be a bit of a grind at the very start in the first half or first 2/3 of the season, then there's no shame in moving up to the midfield championship contender. They've literally put that in the game. So if you're finding it difficult and you want to jump in for a more competitive racing experience in season 1, that's why they put it in there. If you're too busy with work, if you're too busy with schoolwork, university, whatever the case, you may not have the time to play this game religiously, like myself, maybe as my job, or others who play all the time after school or after work or whatever. You may have just other constraints in your life. So if you want to actually enjoy the career mode, enjoy fighting for a championship, and you feel like, I can't wait 2 seasons or even 3 seasons or whatever it's going to take you, then jump into the championship contender and, just battle for the championship straight off the bat. It is no different to back in driver career mode when you chose a top team for normal career mode back in the day on older F1 games when my team wasn't a thing. My team, the concept started off as you have to be a newcomer, but they've added these 2 new options, which I think is really quite good because it will allow more casual players, those of you who maybe don't play the game as much, don't have the time, like I said, to jump in and enjoy your racing. Like, it doesn't have to be a grind. You can jump in, plug and play and enjoy it straight off the bat in season 1. And if that sounds like something you want to do, then go for it. I recommend choosing the midfield or the championship contender. I'd reckon championship contender if you're really new to the F1 game, or just if you want to jump in and don't have the time necessarily to spend 2 seasons to get to even the top of the midfield. I would choose the midfield battle, and then newcomer if you actually have the time and you want to do that grind of building your way up in a Road to Glory style career mode. So those have been 7 tips for you guys for F1 22 My Team career mode. Like I said, it's a different video, not really for maybe the majority of people that watch my content week in, week out, because I think a lot of you guys play the F1 game as much as me, but for newcomers, more casual fans, hopefully those tips were informative and useful, and if you do go on to enjoy them and actually find them useful, then come back to this video maybe and smash the like button. Let me know what you made of them in the comments below, and let me know down the line if they do end up actually helping you, because I'd love to know. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and as I've said in my part 0 video for My Team career mode, part 1, the start of my F1 22 My Team career mode, will be beginning on Monday the 27th of June at 4 PM UK time, BST. So be there, get ready, get subscribed for that, and well, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys around. Goodbye.